This video introduces you to the basic breathing application's audio feedback capabilities. Using audio feedback allows you to train without looking at the screen, so you can use the application during eyes-closed meditation or mindfulness practice, for example. There are three kinds of audio feedback: midi, breathing tone, and threshold. You can use them in combination at the same time if you wish. The controls for audio feedback are found at the bottom of the application's main window. Each of the three has an on-off button and a volume slider, and you can choose which parameter to base the feedback on. Let's start with threshold-based feedback. The idea of this feedback is that whenever the feedback parameter crosses a threshold, a sound is triggered. By default it's a bell sound, but you could set up a different sound. See the user guide for details of how to do that. The value of using the threshold is that the feedback is generally less intrusive, freeing you to focus on your direct experience. The feedback only comes in when you've drifted away from your desired mind-body state. For example, you can set it so that a bell rings whenever your breath goes too fast. The threshold is configured using these controls. This control selects the parameter to base the feedback on, either breathing rate or inhalation to exhalation ratio. You'll see that the graph changes color depending on which one you select. The range of the graph is the same as the long-term displays. This bar controls the actual level of the threshold. You can drag it with your mouse to change it. You can set the feedback to sound either when the signal goes above the limit, or below it, or even both using this control. If you select outside, you'll see two bars displayed, and you'll get feedback when the signal goes either above the upper bar or below the lower bar. If you select breathing rate, for example, you can set the feedback to warn you when the breath goes either too fast or too slow. These numeric displays tell you the exact settings of the levels. Next we'll move on to MIDI feedback. Press this button to turn it on. It plays a piano note once per breath, whose pitch varies with your chosen feedback parameter. Use this control to select which parameter to use. If you select breathing rate, then the faster the breathing, the higher the pitch. The pitch range corresponds to the range used in the long-term displays. One of the options needs further explanation. Selecting threshold means using the same parameter as is selected for the threshold control. The advantage is that you can use the threshold levels to set up a target. The target is midway between the two levels. Suppose you want to breathe at 6 breaths per minute. You'd select breathing rate as the threshold parameter and then set the levels so that 6 breaths per minute is midway between them, say 3 and 9. Now, the closer you are to your target, the deeper the pitch of the note. And then the pitch goes higher the further away you are in either direction, that is either too fast or too slow. The distance between the two levels sets the sensitivity. So in the example, the maximum pitch is reached at either 3 or 9 breaths per minute. Lastly, we'll cover breathing tone feedback. This button activates a tone which follows the breath like this. You can see how this feedback is designed to support breath awareness or mindfulness of breathing practice. The pitch varies with the feedback parameter. Again, you can select which parameter using this control. So for example, if I select breathing rate, then the tone goes deeper as the breathing gets slower. The scaling of the pitch is the same as that used in the long-term displays. Again, the threshold option needs further explanation. As with MIDI feedback, the parameter is the same as that selected for the threshold, and you can use the threshold levels to define a target. This time the target is the zone between the two levels. Suppose you want to breathe at around about 6 breaths per minute. You can set the levels at, say, 5 and 7. Anywhere in this range, the breath tone is at the deepest pitch, but the pitch rises if the breath goes either faster than 7 or slower than 5. See the application's user guide for comprehensive details of the audio feedback capabilities.